Hey everyone, it's Anthony Allen Ramos. All right, the Olympics are over, but that does not mean we are done celebrating the out and proud athletes who made us proud. And today I'm so excited to be chatting with figure skater Jason Brown. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be talking to you, Anthony, and just thank you for all that you do, truly.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, okay, we've had a little time to recover from the Olympics. Been a couple
Yes.
days, a couple weeks. How are you feeling about everything? You had such a strong performance. How are you feeling about it?
You know what? I'm so proud of the performances that I put out in Beijing. Really an awesome experience in Beijing. That being said, it's one of those crazy things where you prep and you prep and you prep and you prep, and it's like for that moment, and then that moment ends, and I just was like paralyzed the next day. I was like, what now? And it was just like, so just dealing with those emotions. But I'm just, it was just trying my best to soak it all in and make the most of it.
No, and we loved cheering you on. And I know, there was a lot of talk about there. You were going to do a quad at one point, and then you
Yes.
decided, you know what, like I'd rather have a clean program. Let's do the triple. Tell me all about the thought process that went into that.
Yeah, honestly, it was like a night before decision. I was doing, working on and like the quad was in the program the entire time I was at the games. But the consistency wasn't there. And so it just became more of like a numbers game. I was like, does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And I was kind of taking the emotion out of it, being like, I want to do it to do it
Yeah.
versus, in this moment, does it make sense for the programs that we're putting out there and the goal that we want to, the goal of just having that, you know, beautiful skate, what I've worked so hard to do. Um, you know, at the end of the day, it kind of the decision to pull it was kind of outweighed, the decision to do it. So
It was such a strong performance overall. So congrats again on that. I see you're wearing your Team USA sweatshirt. I just spoke to Timothy and Ashley. They were getting ready for the World Championships. What are you currently doing?
yeah, so for me, I am not gonna compete at the World Championships, but we have a big Stars on Ice tour that is 24 shows, like mid-April through all of May across the country, with a lot of the Olympic team. So it's this really exciting Olympic tour that I can't wait to go on and kind of get to perform across the country.
That sounds like a blast. I know I just mentioned
Yeah.
Timothy, and I know you had a nice reaction when I brought their name up. Did you get
Yes.
a chance to kind of, I know there was COVID protocol, so it probably was a little
Yeah.
more difficult, but did you get a chance to kind of hang out and meet and chat with some of the other LGBTQ athletes that were at the Olympics?
A little bit. So there was, one of the things that was nice about these games that I guess are different. I'm trying to find all the positives, but one of the things that was really nice was that because it was this closed loop, it was like the only people you were interacting with were athletes. So that was a really awesome time to just connect with people and be there with people. And, I roomed with Timothy. So that was really special and really fun. And to just experience, um, the Olympics with them was incredible.
Yeah, we love to see that. And, I mean, just, I guess, thinking about that experience for you, I mean, do you have another Olympics in you?
I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know. I think at this point, my focus is on, Stars on Ice and getting out and performing. I always said, 4 years ago, I was like, this is going to be this 4-year journey, see where it like it wasn't all about the Olympics, but it was just see what I can do in these 4 years and what I can, whether it was about personal growth, athletic growth, all the above. But then obviously COVID happened, and it was just like the last 2 years have been so strange and not performing in front of, the normal audience and having my family there. And it's one of those things like, is this how it ends? Not obviously. I will continue to perform and would never leave the sport. It's always a part of me. But as far as the competition goes, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck. So maybe I'll start to make decisions as the kind of that post Olympic journey wraps up, and kind of you have kind of more space to look back and kind of really reflect.
Listen, no rush. You have time. Everyone is always like, what's next? What are you gonna have? And it's like, take your time. I think about stars on ice. I just thought of a star on ice, Adam Rippon. I feel like
Yes.
he, was someone, a skater, and then now is like this big personality that everyone knows. Do you have any of those kind of Hollywood aspirations yourself?
I mean, I love being in front of a camera. I mean, I think it's been something that I've grown up in, obviously performing, not as much as a personality per se, but as an athlete in front of the camera. So I have really enjoyed that. I just feel like I'm game for anything. I would love to take, to take advantage of any opportunities that come my way in that sense, and be open to it. So I'm down. I mean, I think it's really yeah, I mean, it's an avenue I'd love to explore.
I think it's in the cards for you. So more to come on that. But
Sounds good.
yeah. And, switching gears a little more serious, you mentioned you're going to be traveling all over the country. I think as we realize what's happening right now with so many bills across various states that are really limiting LGBTQ rights, especially when it comes to our kids. There's LGBTQ exclusion in sports for trans people. How can people really just change that conversation and support, these LGBTQ athletes?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest, even with my story, and one of the main reasons that I, came out when I did, was about how visibility was such a key, crucial point to what normalized it for me and made me feel so accepted. And so, what I was going through was so normal, was because I had representation everywhere I looked. And so I think that is such a key part, and so important to have that visibility, and just always kind of constantly being yourself, and being proud of being yourself, and owning, that's a journey, and trying to figure that out is, everyone will go through it at different times when they're ready. But I think that there is something so crucial about normalizing that. It's like, if someone, it's like, then, like what you were talking about with all these bills, it's like it puts a face to that discrimination. It's not just words on a paper, and there's not this disconnect. There is this real connection of what's going on and who you are actually impacting. And I think that is truly one of the biggest first key steps, is just that representation, that visual, visual of who you are actually impacting with these. It's not this, it's not this unknown,
Totally. It makes
thing.
complete, because that's really what it's all about. It's, being visible, representation is so key. And, you mentioned when you decided to publicly come out, I think was it June of 2021?
Yeah.
What was that like for you, and why did you, because we always say at GLAAD, it's so important for people to remember that when it comes to coming out, there's no rules, there's no timeline. Do it when you're safe, do it when you're ready. So I guess, why was that the moment for you?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it was, like I mentioned earlier, is I've been so lucky to have so many incredible LGBTQ role models, like growing up, and I was always surrounded by it, and it was just always something that was normal to me. And not just normal, but I saw everyone being accepted and loved, and it didn't matter. And it was just so beautiful. And it really wasn't until when the summer of 2020, and we kind of, the lockdown we were in full swing, and there was the Supreme Court was voting on LGBTQ rights, and those discrimination laws. And I just remember thinking, like, oh my God, this is still a thing. I think for me, I was so wrapped up in the skating world and what I was doing and the next step, that when we had that moment to take a step back and just see what's actually going on and kind of get out of our way, I was just shocked that what was transpiring was occurring. It was so gut-wrenching, and it was so upsetting. And I remember, just like how you mentioned when you're asking the question, everyone that I talked to kept saying, it has to be on your terms. It has to be on your terms when you're ready, when you want. And I just remember kept, I think especially that summer in 2020, trying to find the words and trying to figure out a way that felt right. And nothing ever did. You know, I was very comfortable with who I was, but to publicly do it in a way that I felt was genuine was really like, for whatever reason, it wasn't formulating. And so, but I had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and I kind of got the ball rolling and talking to them, and just really had great open discussions. And then kind of we got back into the skating season and get back to our normal lives. And then it wasn't until like a year later, which was June 2021, and one night I couldn't sleep. I like, you know, sometimes you just have that weird motivation, like, oh, I want to jot something down. I like wrote this kind of this how I was feeling and wanting to come out, and wanting, you know, just the message about how it was the people that came before me that really inspired me and the impact that they've made. And it was like something that I wrote in 10 minutes, and I finished it and I was like, oh my gosh, that it just felt so right, so natural. I literally called my parents the next morning. I was like, guys, I think I'm coming out this weekend. Like, it was like that simple. Like, it was like, it felt right, it felt natural. And then I like, it was as simple as that.
I'm so glad that you had support from your family too. That sounds like, you know, you did. So who were some of the, you know, you mentioned some of the LGBTQ icon, or not icons, but LGBTQ people that you know, kind of looked up to that kind of helped you along in the process. Who were some of those people?
Yeah, so growing up, I always, you know, my choreographer is gay. I had a coach that was gay. I actually have 5 cousins who are LGBTQ plus. So I mean, I think for me, it was just actually just, it was so normal from the start. And my parents have so many friends in that community. And so we were always just surrounded by it. And so it was something that was just so normal. And I remember, you know, people so often would talk about stereotypes and fitting that, and if you do and if you don't. And I just remember everyone was so different. And so every time I would hear a stereotype, or that whether it was something you agreed or disagreed with or felt like, it was like it wasn't anyone fit that one angle. There was just so much diversity within that community, and it was more about being who you are and being proud of that. That was the underlying message. And it's like, what part of that can't you support? Like, what part of that isn't beautiful and authentic and incredible? So I think for me, it was, you know, I wasn't ever concerned about trying to fit a mold or word. I always felt like I could just be me. And that piece of that sexuality piece was just another part of being me. And I had all these people around me to show me how many kind of paths you can take in that, you know, with that identity. And there was nothing, I just, for me, that's what kind of really just normalized it. I think it was like, they were all different and they're all people. And it was just really special in that way.
I'm so glad that you had that experience, and very well said. You know, thinking about your journey, you know, we're coming up on, it'll be a year soon since you publicly, you know, came out. Do you find that the world of figure skating is a supportive place for LGBTQ skaters? And do you feel like, you know, you can be supported in that way?
You know, I think one of the things that's really interesting when you ask that question is, I think it's all based on certain people's experiences. So I definitely think for me, I've really truly always felt supported. The surroundings and the environments that I've been in have always allowed me to be exactly who I want to be. And I always felt supported to be just that. You know, I think another reason that I, you know, also kind of came out was though, because a lot of, once I kind of opened up that door and had those conversations, and, you know, especially in 2020, where I feel like a lot of people started stepping up and just talking, you know, and talking about their experiences, I realized how different people's experiences were and how much people did suffer in the skating community and did struggle and were discriminated against and had such a different experience. And I understood that that was something that went on, But for whatever reason in my head, I thought we were so far past that. Like, oh, that was the generation ahead or two ahead of me, and not really realizing that that's still so prevalent nowadays. And so, in my circumstance, no, I really do feel so fortunate that I've been in environments where I have been so accepted. But at least to my face, at least that I know of. But as far as but I know that that isn't the experience that everyone has gone through, and I think that I think just continuing to keep that conversation going and being open and hearing everyone's perspectives and everyone's views and everyone's experiences, it will only just help the next generation.
Oh, I love that. And I'm glad that you had a relatively good experience, but like you said, it's not the same for everyone. So clearly there's still a lot of work that can be done. Thinking about Stars on Ice, can you share some of the other stars that will be on the ice with you, or is that not, or who's going to be there?
No, yeah. No, it's a great cast. So there will be, for the men, it will be me and Vincent Zhou and Nathan Chen. The women, it will be Alyssa Liu and Mariah Bell, Karen Chen and Mirai Nagasu. For the pairs, it will be Alexa Knierim and Brandon Fraser, and the dance will be Madison Chalk and Evan Bates, and Madison Hubble and Zach Donahue. So it's going to be a really, really awesome cast, really, really fun. You're in for a treat. So come out if there's a show by you, please.
Tickets are available now. I love that. Well, Jason, it is so great to meet you. Congrats again on the Olympics. Congrats and much success moving forward. And we'll hopefully see you soon. And if you're in town, GLAAD Media Awards are coming up in Los Angeles on April 2nd and in New York on May 6th. So we'll hopefully see you there.
Oh my gosh. Let me know. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.